Hi, this is Dan Smith of DPS Legal Counsel, and today I want to talk to you about the important issue of asset protection. Now, what is asset protection, and why would you even consider talking about or thinking about asset protection? Well, we live in a very litigious society where lawsuits are common and people get sued for good reasons and for no reason. Certain people, particularly those who are high income earners or who have a lot of assets, are potential targets for lawsuits. So you could get a lawsuit filed against you because of a traffic accident, because of a contract dispute, because of a problem at work. You could probably go on and think of a million ways that might produce a lawsuit against you. And if you're a high income producer or you have a lot of assets, you probably want to really think hard about checking into asset protection. Just in the event that someone does file a lawsuit against you, you want to protect your assets. Now, what asset protection is, in essence, is structuring your affairs, your business assets, your personal assets in such a way that they are protected for you and for your family. You're not defrauding people. You're just structuring your assets so that they are able to be most protected to provide the benefit of owning them for you and for your family. Now, once you have lawsuits that have been filed against you, it's kind of too late to do asset protection. Asset protection needs to be done on the front end as a proactive, preventative measure well in advance of a problem arising. Then once a problem arises, you have your assets and your affairs properly structured. And what that does is it essentially makes it more difficult for a plaintiff in a lawsuit or a creditor to be able to get to your assets, and it preserves those assets more for your benefit and your family's benefit than it does make them available to your potential plaintiffs in a lawsuit or a creditor. And so, what are the 4 or 5 ways, different ways that people can look at asset protection? What are some of the strategies for asset protection? Well, there are a number of strategies. One is, and some are very simple and common sense kinds of things that you can do, and probably everyone should do. Number one is you need to make sure you have enough insurance and the right types of insurance to protect you and your business from potential claims, creditors, lawsuits. So it's, I think, always a great idea for everyone to have not only normal liability protection with respect to their car or liability protection with respect to their business premises, but also to have what's called umbrella coverage, have an umbrella insurance policy. I would talk to your insurance agent about umbrella coverage. Umbrella coverage is not that expensive, and it can provide a lot of protection for you. You probably need to talk with your agent about what are the what's covered under a particular umbrella policy that they might write for you. But if you do that, you may find that an umbrella policy is not that expensive and may provide you with some protection that you wouldn't have without paying for that liability policy. A second type of thing you can do is to title your assets in a particular way. When I'm talking about titling your assets in a particular way, there are a number of things to keep in mind. Number one, if you title your home, for example, if you're married and the home is titled in your name and your spouse's name as tenants by the entirety, if you have a creditor or a claim is filed against you, but your spouse is not also a potential defendant in that lawsuit, then the most that a plaintiff and a potential judgment creditor could get with respect to your home is your undivided interest in the property. But so in this case, your home would actually be protected because they can't force a sale of a piece of property that's held tenancy by the entireties. So that's one way. You can look at titling your assets a particular type of way. But again, you need to talk to your attorney about that particular issue. It may vary based on the kind of asset it is and what your situation is. A third thing after insurance and titling assets is to make sure if you have certain activities that you perform businesses through, or you have rental properties in, that you use a limited liability type of entity to conduct that business or that rental activity or whatever it is where there might be some risk for you. So if you own a piece of property that you rent or you have a business, you should operate it through an LLC, probably. Again, talk to your own attorney about that, your particular facts, but entity selection, using a limited liability entity such as an LLC, is a great way to provide asset protection. Another way of providing asset protection is using what is called a domestic asset investment trust, or in Tennessee it's a Tennessee Investment Services Trust. These are domestic asset protection trusts. There are certain requirements that have to go into the trust, but if the trust is set up properly and you put assets in the trust after a certain period of time, if there is an issue that arises, the lawsuit that is filed after a certain period of time, those assets that are in the trust are protected from your judgment creditors. Again, talk to your attorney about that, but Domestic Asset Protection Trust or Tennessee Investment Services Trust are a great vehicle for asset protection. That's about it. I mean, we've talked about insurance, titling assets, LLCs or other limited liability entities, and finally trusts. These are all ways that you can structure your assets and your affairs in certain ways to protect yourself against the risk of lawsuits and creditors that might impact the value of your own assets. So look into asset protection if you are a high income earner or you have a lot of assets that you need to protect, but do it proactively before you have a problem. That's the way to do asset protection. Okay, I hope that helps, and we'll see you next time. Oh, if you have a question about asset protection or any other legal issue involving a business, please feel free to give me a call. You can check my information at my website, dpslegalcounsel.com. Give me a call. I'll be glad to talk to you about your particular issue. Until we see you next time, have a great day.